Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this video marks the end, week number 42 in this Road to 100k Realized Return Challenge. And this week the markets performed very well relative to the last few months in which we have been going on a whirlwind because of all the tariffs, the conversation about whether tariffs is going to be implemented, how much of a tariffs are going to be implemented as well. But the markets mainly shoved those concerns aside. They were also buoyed this week by a slightly lower than expected inflation reading. Consumer sentiment, even though it was a little bit down or a little further down than expected, that simply did not cause too much concern in the markets. However, last night the news came out that Moody's, which was the only remaining rating agency that still assigned the AAA to the US debt, downgraded the US debt a notch. So instead of AAA, it's now AA1, the second best credit notation. And as a result of that, in the aftermarket hours, the QQQ ended up going down. As you can see here, this large candle over here was because precisely of that piece of news, which also of course is a concern, because Moody's stated that this downgrading comes on the back of rising debt, rising interest payments, a larger allocation of the current government revenues are being allocated to just paying the interest on the debt. And so of course this is an unsustainable trajectory for the US government debt. And so they decided that even though the US dollar still counts as a reserve currency and pretty much is still pretty much considered the US debt, of course, as a safe asset, a safe haven asset, there is no reason to continue to assign the maximum rating, because in terms of government deficit, government debt, they are still much larger, revealing a much worse situation than other comparable economies with AAA credit rating. So that's basically what caused this devaluation of the QQQ shares. Because besides that, the market went up every single day this week, and yeah, so overall this was positive. These were positive news. Of course, there's also a bit of a downside, because if you sell calls on shares, you are counting that shares either go down, shares can also maintain its value relatively unchanged, or they can go slightly up. But there were quite a lot of price swings during this week, large swings here, especially for example this one, also this one as well, at the end of Tuesday, and also this one as well on Thursday. And so that's the reason why our performance in terms of the options was not as good as we were hoping for. Overall this week we managed to get only a little bit less than 24 euros in our trades, simply because our stop losses were triggered and we locked in some losses. But overall we came away with a positive gain. So basically we gained on the options, even though only a little, but we gained mostly on the shares. And overall this is a more favorable outcome, because as you can see here and looking at the chart for 1 week, basically we started the week at here around 507 and we ended up at 521, of course before this massive push down or pullback because of the credit rating. So overall the news were positive, but yeah, we wish these swings were not as aggressive. But even so, I think the overall outlook is good. And at this point, and I noticed already and given the fact that we have to cover that large loss that we had before, and our price is around 550, the price at which we need to sell our QQQ shares is around 550, and if we do the calculation here, because we need to account for the numbers of this week, and I believe that it's still around, there must be still be around the 550 mark. But even so, I notice already, because I've been looking at the option chain for the options for more than one day, and here, let's see in a second, yeah, so here, so overall we in order to break even and offset the loss that we had, the large loss we had, we still need to sell our shares at 550.70. but here, as you can see, around the 10-day mark, I believe, these options are already available here. So yeah, we are already in a position to sell a 10-day option with a 550 strike price at 16 cents, and so this is a positive outcome, because if we want, if we for example we move out of the market for a week, for vacations or something like that, we'd still be able to get some premiums out of the shares, with a security that or the assurance that even if we are called, we would at least break even, and that's also always a very positive aspect. Of course, we always try to minimize the time horizon, but even here, if we look at the 6 days, so expiring next Friday, these options are already available, so it's always a good sign. But we'll wait and see what happens over the next few days. When it comes to Pfizer had a very wild week. The stock came down to slightly below $22 here at the end of Wednesday. It had this huge pullback here over the course of Wednesday, and ended up down slightly lower than 22, but it recovered strongly the next day. And so yeah, the plan still remains the same. We will have to continue to, as soon as we have some more money available, to buy more shares at a depressed stock price, so that then we can lower our average price and then try to sell and come out of this position at least breaking even. As I mentioned before, we are in a situation in which our current strike price, current average price is 26.21. I don't know why the Excel sometimes behaves this way, but nonetheless, this is the average price we have, accounting already for the loss we had on the shares of Pfizer that we had to sell at a loss. So at this moment, we are in a position that we could sell some options at the 27 strike price for 2 cents only, but this was 3-week options, and I decided to go for it because we don't know what the price is going to do, and because the option chain is not that long, not that deep, so at least we can continue to get some money out of these shares until the price rises, or until we buy some more shares we are able to sell some options at a lower strike price. But yeah, so far this is how things are for this week. Next week we'll continue to push with our strategy and hoping that QQQ continues to rise, and we will continue to push our strategy of selling calls on the QQQ, continue to accrue more premium until we are in a position to sell these shares altogether, and seeing what happens. And for the time being, this is all, and feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below, and also you can also send me a message a DM on LinkedIn in case you have any questions, and of course feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll reconvene on Monday to start the week number 43 in this challenge. And I'll see you there.